Once again, we're here to honor our namesake for the Marine Corps League, General Roy S. Geiger. It's my privilege and honor to speak a few words about this great American hero, born hailing from Middleburg, Florida. I don't imagine back when he was running around here barefoot delivering telegrams for the Western Union that he thought that one day he'd be leading all American forces in the Pacific in the Battle of Okinawa, to include the 10th Army, first general in the Marine Corps to ever command a field army. It's fitting that we review a little bit about General Roy Geiger. He was born here on the 25th of January in 1885. He died on January 23rd in 1947, 2 days short of being 62 years of age. He was buried in Arlington National Cemetery. His military career spanned from 1907 to 1947. He was promoted to General 4 stars by the 80th Congress of the United States posthumously. He commanded the 1st Marine Air Wing, 1st Amphibious Corps, 3rd Amphibious Corps, and 10th Army and Fleet Marine Pacific, Forces Pacific. He fought in World War I, the Banana Wars in Haiti, in World War II, at the battles of Bougainville, and in the Battle of Okinawa. He was awarded 2 Navy Crosses, 3 Navy Distinguished Service Medals, and 1 Army Distinguished Service Medal. His fame in the Marine Corps is widespread. Camp Geiger, which many of you went through as young infantry and in your days of Vietnam, named in his honor. And for all junior officers who go through the Amphibious Warfare School, now it's got another name I can't remember, Expeditionary Force School. They attend that school in Geiger Hall, Quantico, Virginia. Roy Geiger, as I said, was born, hailed from this neck of the woods. He grew up here. He was an athlete. When he ran the telegrams, he ran them by foot from one place to another. He was an athlete all his life. He enlisted in the Marine Corps on the 2nd of November, 1907. Prior to enlisting, he had attended Stetson University and received a degree. Now, he enlisted on 2 November 1907 and was promoted to corporal in June of 1908. Do the math, 7 months. Another year later, he had gone through all the qualifications and he was commissioned as a 2nd lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps in 1909. He spent most of his enlisted career at the Washington Barracks. He did sea duty on the Wisconsin and on the Delaware. He attended the officers' course, Port Royal, South Carolina. He headed off to Nicaragua. He did the Philippines. He was a bit ahead of you, Colonel, in China. He was part of the legation, American delegation. Got back home. He was a student, naval aviator designated in 1916. And in 1917, behind A.R. Griffin there, he became a naval aviator. That's 1917. And they put his skills right to work the next year, 1918, off to France. He gets attached to the Royal Air Forces there, and they do a lot of warfare, leading bombing strikes into France. He helped at the Battle of Dunkirk there. And along the way, he was so distinguished, he picked up early command of the 1st Marine Aviation Forces. It was during this time that he was awarded his first Navy Cross for leading those strikes. 1919, he comes home. And in between the wars, there's a litany of things that he does. And these are the things that prepare you for the bigger things in command and in life. Listen to these. He's a squadron commander in 1919, goes to Quantico to the airfield. In 1925, he attends the Command and Staff College at Fort Leavenworth in Kansas. He heads out of there and he goes back to Haiti. In 1929, he goes to the Department of the Navy and heads the Aviation section at Headquarters Marine Corps. He's also goes to the U.S. Army War College. In 1929, he's at Quantico again. Then they move him over to D.C. and he becomes the Deputy of Department of the Navy's OIC for military aviation. In 1935, back to Quantico. Now he commands Aircraft 1 Fleet Marine Forces. In 1939 to 1941, he attends what's called the Senior Advanced Course, Naval War College. Then he heads off to London. They make him a naval attaché. And he comes back home in 1941 in August, and fate would put him in charge of the 1st Marine Air Wing. And that's where we find Roy Geiger at the outbreak of the Second World War. In 1942, he takes those air forces along with A.A. Vandergrift into Guadalcanal. And as you know, that was the first American offensive in the Second War. And it was important. It was the first time we met the Japanese. Many people felt we could not stand up to the Japanese. They were tested combat veterans. Roy Geiger led those forces there, and they did a mighty fine job. They put together a lot of, today we'd call it duct tape and paper clips to keep the air forces flying. In fact, they called it the Cactus Air Force. So Geiger led those, and it was during this time that he wins a second, or is awarded his 2nd Navy Cross. Part of his citation reads that in leading these forces, they shoot down over 290 Japanese aircraft. They sink 6 ships, to include a cruiser. That's pretty big. And that's not to say that they believe they damaged as many aircraft. So nearly 600 enemy aircraft. And he's leading and putting those forces together. Now in the middle of the war, they bring him home in 1943. But he's only home for a short time. Send him to Headquarters Marine Corps. He's now the director of all Marine Aviation. But they take him and they put him in charge of the 1st Marine Amphibious Corps. And it's at Headquarters Marine Corps they devise the plans that will win the Pacific War, at least from the Marines' perspective. He goes back in 1943, he heads back, and they begin the warfare there at Bougainville and Palau Island. They retake them. He comes back and they regroup and they redesignate him as the 3rd Amphibious Corps. And then they go and they recapture Guam. In April of 1944, They continue as 3rd Amphibious Corps, and they head to Okinawa in early 1945. On 18 June, General Buckner, the Army general in charge of 10th Army, is mortally wounded on Okinawa. General Geiger is the senior general at that campaign, and he moves up and takes command. They finish up the battle there, and he's redesignated as Commander Fleet Marine Forces Pacific. He returns in 1946 to Headquarters Marine Corps, and suddenly and unexpectedly and untimely, he dies in 1947 at his duties, on active duty, at Bethesda, Maryland. Cause of death to this date is still unknown. What's important about General Geiger is the impact that he made on the Marine Corps and its aviation. He wrote all the books. There weren't books before he started. And he wrote them all with the things that he implemented, that he led, and that his forces tried and succeeded with. When you win a world war in the Pacific Campaign using aviation tactics that he developed, there's some proof there that it'll probably last a long, long time. We're particularly honored that we're here in Middleburg, Florida, and that we can latch on to a hero of the Corps and claim his name for our league. It's fitting that we picked his name, and it's fitting that this community saw fit to name this Parkway after one of their homegrown heroes. I'd like to just close by saying again that it's an honor every year to come here and to remember General Geiger. I think as each of us reflect on our own careers, and many of you have had long and illustrious careers, looking at myself in the mirror and this morning with all this wonderful salad bar on and looking spiffy, there are some people that serve in our Corps that you just can't hold on to their jockstrap. General Geiger is one of those Marines. I've done a lot, but I realize I pale in comparison. Most Marines do. It wasn't my calling, but General Geiger, he rose to the occasion when it demanded his best efforts, and he succeeded in an exemplary way. Again, this community is recognized because of Geiger, but I'll tell you, he's a hero, a giant of heroes in our Corps. With that, I'd like to take a moment that we would just take some silence here and remember General Roy Geiger. Thank you for hearing me out this morning, Marines. It's been a pleasure to be here. Detachment and hood. Sergeant Major. Don't break your neck. Dismiss the troops. All right, sir.